Ever since Mom passed away, my mother-in-law Olivia and sister-in-law Zoe keep barging in every time I'm alone at home. How can you not entertain us when we've gone out of our way to visit? Unbelievable! We'll get steaks again, so you're paying, all right? Zoe is laughing alongside her. I've been living through these hellish days for 2 years now. Now my son and daughter have moved out to attend university in the city. Then one day, with just my husband and me at home, Matthew dropped a bombshell. Next week, my parents and sister's family are moving in, so clear out your room. And to top it off, Matthew says I'm in the way and should leave. The house was originally my family home, and now he's telling me to leave? Unforgivable. I decided without hesitation to take certain steps. Then I'll just clear out the house. Matthew smirked maliciously when I said that. Oblivious Matthew left for a business trip. I immediately made the necessary calls for the plans I had in place. Before Matthew returned, I had everything arranged and left the house. I can imagine Matthew's shocked face when he comes back. My name is Mia, a 48-year-old housewife, living in my family home since getting married. After graduating high school, I went to college in Boston and worked there, spending my entire single life in Boston. However, on a rare visit back to the countryside, I ended up attending a local revitalization party. I had no intention of returning to the countryside, but I was forcibly dragged there by the people around me. I, being someone who can't say no when asked, reluctantly went. The local men, not often lucky in love, were desperate. Everywhere I looked, their eyes were gleaming with eagerness. Overwhelmed, I decided just to wait it out. That's when I noticed a man sitting quietly beside me. My future husband, Matthew. I was bored alone, so I shared some food with him. In return, as a thank you, he brought food to me, saying, I was gradually drawn to Matthew, a man of few words, but earnest. After all, I had no boyfriend back in Boston, nor was I in a particularly responsible position at work. Around that time, Dad had passed away, and with no siblings, Mom was living alone in the family home. Feeling tired of the city life, I started to think it wouldn't be so bad to marry and settle down in my hometown. So I married Matthew, and we began our life in my family home. Since my sister-in-law Zoe and her husband were living in the in-laws' house, Matthew was more than happy to live with my mom. We were blessed with 2 children, a son and a daughter, and our marriage seemed to be going well. However, after Mom passed away and the kids moved out to become independent, I faced a terrible ordeal. Matthew, always quiet, remained mostly silent even after marriage. He didn't involve himself much in parenting. He might be called a calm type of husband. As an only child, I was close to Mom and consulted her about everything. So I think I managed to raise my children the way I wanted with her help. But everything changed right after Mom died. Mom loved taking care of the family and lost her spirit quickly after the kids left for college in the city. Then she passed away not long after. I thought Matthew and I would spend our time together peacefully, but after Mom's death, Matthew changed, as if he became a different person. The once quiet Matthew started calling me you in a disrespectful way and became rude. Lay about. If you've got time, make some coffee, he'd say, lounging in the living room, bossing me around. He never used to lie down outside the bedroom, so what's happened to him? Maybe he was being considerate to my mom when she was alive. But now he's turned arrogant. Unlike anything I've seen, even as his wife. Maybe he's relaxing now that he no longer has to mind Mom. But such a drastic change is shocking to me. Our children, who occasionally come home, are astonished at Matthew's transformation. Moreover, even when the kids are home, Matthew sticks to the TV, refusing to leave the living room. If the kids try to change the channel, "Get out of the way. Go somewhere else," he snaps. This really upsets them. Since Mom and I raised them, they feel uncomfortable with Dad, Matthew, dominating the place. So the children, initially returning on long weekends, now come only during the year-end holidays. No matter the absence of in-laws, this attitude is too much. Unable to bear it anymore, I tried to subtly bring up Matthew's behavior. "Hey, you've been acting different lately. What's going on?"
"What's changed?"
he retorted. "Since Mom passed away, maybe. You used to be so calm. But now you seem irritable." Matthew glared and replied in a harsh tone.
"What are you talking about? I was just being considerate to your mom. But now that she's gone, I'm the head of this house. It's only natural for me to get angry if I don't like something."
I was terrified, seeing this frightening side of Matthew for the first time. It seemed that being considerate to Mom had been a stress for him, but I never imagined he would change this much. Since then, I've been walking on eggshells around Matthew. And the troubles that have befallen me since Mom's death didn't stop there. I worked part-time until 3 p.m., then returned home to do household chores, which has become my routine. When Mom was alive, we used to enjoy tea time together at this hour, but now it's become a depressing time. When I get home, Olivia and Zoe are waiting at the entrance.
"Ah, Mia, you're late. We've been waiting in the cold for 40 minutes,
Olivia complained.
"That's right, Mia. We heard you finished work at 3 p.m., so we timed our visit accordingly. Why are you so late?"
Zoe added. Yes, these two started coming to our house every day at this time, knowing my part-time job ends at 3 p.m. In the in-laws' house, the in-laws and Zoe's family live together. Like us, Zoe's husband moved into her family home. Zoe, who has no children and hasn't worked for a long time, always sticks to Olivia. I used to think Olivia and Zoe were kind people when Mom was alive, but like Matthew, they started being brazen with me as soon as Mom passed away. "I'm sorry, I was shopping on my way back," I said. Fearing their complaints, if I showed any displeasure, I could only apologize and let them in. Once inside, I have to change and put away the shopping first. But without waiting, Olivia starts nagging.
"You have your husband's mom and sister visiting, and you don't even care for us. Unbelievable. We'll get steaks again, so you're paying, right?"
Zoe laughs along with her. Even though it's nearly 4 p.m., they insist on ordering steaks for delivery, and I always end up paying. I've been living through these hellish days for 2 years now. Of course, I had talked to Matthew about it, but he never took my side.
"Mom and your sister think they're being considerate, believing you're lonely after losing your mom. Complaining would be bad karma."
But they always eat steaks, and I'm always the one paying. It's causing a monthly deficit.
"Just manage your finances better. It's not enough. Find a part-time job that pays more. You always cared for your own parents, but seem cold to my family."
His words left me speechless. I don't want to quit my current part-time job because the people are nice. And it's not like I've neglected the in-laws' house. I've always shown up for family gatherings and took things over for Thanksgiving. Olivia and Zoe used to be so kind whenever I visited. Why did they change so suddenly after Mom died? I was lost on what to do next, and my stress kept building. During these days of suffering, something shocking happened. One night, Matthew came home from work and announced something unbelievable.
"Next week, my parents and sister's family are moving in, so clear out your room."
What? Why so sudden? I was panicked by the abrupt news.
"It's exactly as I said. Everyone's moving in this Saturday, so hurry up."
Saturday was only 3 days away. Matthew had decided the significant matter without consulting me, just discussing it with his family. Wait, you can't just decide that. This house originally belongs to my family. Shut up. Regardless of its origins, I'm the head of this house now. I decide everything. No complaints. His harsh words stunned me, and I dropped the plate I was washing. It shattered on the floor. Clumsy idiot. That's why I've grown tired of being with you. What do you mean by that? His words piqued my interest, and he replied with a sneer. I'll be clear. Mom and my sister like this house and want to live here, but they hate you. I also don't like being with you, so you're in the way and should leave. That's ridiculous. Yeah, and like I said, clear out your stuff. I'll be on a business trip for the next 3 days, so finish it before I return. Furious at Matthew's cruel treatment, I made up my mind to take certain steps. Then I'll clear out the house. Matthew smirked maliciously at my response. Oh, I thought you'd throw a bigger fit. Surprisingly obedient. He seemed pleased, thinking everything was going his way, unaware that he'd regret his actions in just 3 days. The next day, oblivious Matthew left for his business trip. I immediately called to initiate the planned procedures. Before Matthew's return, I finished all the arrangements and left the house. I could picture Matthew's shocked face when he comes back. I headed to my daughter Madison's apartment in Boston, where she lives alone. I had contacted her 3 nights before.
I've been waiting for you, Mom. Did you finish the procedures?
Yes, everything's perfect. Sorry for suddenly imposing on you like this.
It's okay, but Dad's awful, isn't he? Kicking you out so suddenly?
Yes, but I made sure to teach Dad a lesson before coming here. He's in for a surprise. I said, laughing with Madison. There was a reason I came to Madison's place. Late that night, as expected, Matthew called. What's this about? There's nothing left in the house. Where are the furniture and appliances? Oh, you told me to clear out all your stuff, you said. I meant for you to clear out the stuff in your room. I never said to clear out everything in the house. Indeed, clear out your room, Matthew initially said, but after telling me to leave, clear out all your stuff, he said. You wanted me out, right? So I disposed of all my furniture and appliances that I inherited from Mom. Now your family can move in without any worries. The procedures I undertook in these 3 days began with having the recycling company pick up the furniture and appliances I've been using. I had movers take out everything that belonged to the children, and what I still needed to Madison's apartment. I felt bad for inconveniencing Madison, but she was eager to get back at Matthew and helped me. After a long silence, Matthew spoke in a troubled voice. Actually, the part about my parents' and sister's family moving in was a lie. Both Mom and my sister are likely to get divorced. Oh, I see. So they're planning to take refuge with you. I replied as if I already knew. What? Aren't you surprised? Both might get divorced. Well, I knew that. Huh? Matthew sounded dumbfounded. I had already contacted my father-in-law, Robert, and my sister-in-law's husband, Richard, in these 3 days, so I was fully aware of the current situation of the in-laws. Actually, Richard is originally from Boston. He got interested in a community revitalization event in our area and decided to participate. There, he caught Zoe's eye, who pursued him one-sidedly, and even her mom, Olivia, pressured him into marriage. Then, at Olivia and Zoe's request, he moved into their family home. After marriage, Zoe, spoiled by her overly indulgent mother Olivia, had a free rein, causing a lot of trouble for Richard. Moreover, since Zoe started barging in every evening, she stopped cooking meals. Well, considering how much steak they ate in the evenings, it was expected. After 2 years of such a lifestyle, "Get out!" Robert, infuriated, shouted at Olivia and Zoe. I felt a sense of relief when I heard this story from Richard. Matthew had decided to let Olivia and Zoe move in with us after hearing they might be kicked out. Since they would only bring minimal luggage, the lack of furniture and appliances would be problematic. Interestingly, Matthew's supposed business trip was actually a visit to Robert, pleading for forgiveness for the two. But since Robert refused, Matthew ended up helping them pack their things. When I told Matthew everything I learned from Richard,
What a cunning wife!
I faintly heard from the other end of the phone. Apparently, Olivia was eavesdropping behind Matthew.
Mia, what will you do about this? We can't live in a place with nothing.
How could you secretly contact my husband? What a terrible woman you are.
Zoe was there too. Oh, you all seem troubled. By the way, I also asked Richard to beg Robert for forgiveness. He said if they reflect on their actions overnight, they can return home tomorrow morning.
Really?
Zoe and Olivia seemed delighted, celebrating together.
Mia, I take back what I said earlier. You're not so bad after all.
Matthew sounded disappointed, having brought them home for nothing. Well, it's good for the two of them, but what about me? Can't you at least bring back the appliances? Oh, by the way, while clearing out everything, I also arranged to sell the house, so please leave soon. Hey! Matthew's voice rose in disbelief. I'm your husband. How can you treat me like this?
Oh, weren't you trying to kick me, your wife, out? That's pretty terrible, too.
Matthew fell silent, unable to respond. I added,
Oh, right. Your things are still in the house. Check the small desk you use as a study. The divorce papers are in the drawer. I filled out my part. Just sign yours.
I heard Matthew's footsteps heading to the back room. Opening the drawer, he muttered, These are divorce papers. Yes, just fill out your part and send them in, please. Don't be ridiculous. Why should I have to divorce?
You wanted me to leave, right? That's the same as divorcing.
Matthew must not have expected his actions to backfire this way. I thought he was silent, but then I heard crying. In a voice mixed with tears, he pleaded,
Please, I was wrong. I'll treasure you from now on. Could you reconsider? I'm begging you, believe me.
Matthew pleaded, but I couldn't forgive his misdeeds of prioritizing his relatives over me and trying to kick me out. It would have been fine to accept Olivia and Zoe being kicked out of their home, but he should have consulted me. How can I trust a husband who neglected me and planned to take in his mother and sister? So his apologies now won't change my decision. The next morning, Zoe called.
Mia, you liar. When we got home, Dad and Richard were gone and the house was sold.
Zoe sounded furious, but I remained calm and unbothered. I didn't lie. I did say you could return, but I never said Dad or Richard would be waiting for you.
Damn it, we were tricked.
I heard Zoe and Olivia complaining in the background. Then Olivia noticed an anonymous envelope in the mailbox, opened it, and cried out loud. It contained a letter from Robert to Olivia and Zoe, along with divorce papers signed only by Robert and Richard. I already knew the contents from Robert. Robert had grown tired of Olivia's stubborn and selfish behavior and had been considering moving into a senior facility. This incident solidified his decision to sell the house and move. Richard also seemed to be returning to his family home in Boston to divorce the pampered Zoe.
Mia, do something. We'll have nowhere to live.
It's not my problem. Why not apologize to Richard and ask for forgiveness? I suggested, but Zoe's pride wouldn't allow her to apologize. She started sobbing quietly. Olivia trying to console her.
Poor thing,
she said. Then she grabbed the phone and yelled,
This wicked wife, inhuman!
Though startled by her scream, I remained calm and delivered my final words. Okay, take care. Goodbye. I heard a voice from the other end.
Wait a minute!
But I hung up without concern. I was done being dragged into their pace. Their selfish behavior caused their misfortune. yet they blamed me until the end. Soon, Matthew and I will be divorced, making them strangers to me. Since then, I won't have to deal with them ever again. Matthew hesitated to file the divorce papers, so I hired a lawyer and started legal proceedings. Finally, the court proceedings ended, and I was officially divorced from Matthew. Matthew demanded half of the proceeds from the house sale, claiming it as marital property, but it was ruled not to be, and his claim was denied.
How can this be? I have nowhere to live now. How am I supposed to survive?
Matthew was outraged at the court's decision and started yelling at me, but the judge stopped him. He looked utterly defeated, but I felt no sympathy for him. If only he had shown some regret for letting Olivia and Zoe intrude daily. Our marriage ended in the worst possible way. Matthew, now also divorced from Olivia and Zoe, was looking for a new place to live. In our rural area, there were no affordable business hotels or internet cafes. A local friend told me they were seen setting up cardboard boxes for shelter in a park. Initially, Matthew reached out.
Help me.
But those messages ceased. Maybe because his mobile phone service was stopped. Eventually, I heard rumors that they finally moved into a nearby abandoned apartment on the outskirts of town. Supporting Olivia and Zoe, who had never worked, must be tough for him. Zoe, still of working age, remains unemployed, likely due to her pride. I heard that Olivia and Zoe often argue loudly, becoming a nuisance to their neighbors. Olivia, once thought to be family-oriented, now only cared for herself, seeing Zoe more as a burden in their current situation. Matthew, unhappy living with them, apparently spends a lot of time at slot parlors, likely squandering his earnings. Local friends keep me updated on their situation through messages and calls. Though their stories are no longer my concern, I can't help but feel a bit of schadenfreude. And now I live in Boston. Just before my divorce, I had consulted Richard, who had returned to Boston after divorcing Zoe, about my future plans. Richard's brother owns a food company, and he offered me a job there. I stayed with Madison for a while, but eventually found my own small apartment with Richard's help. I'm incredibly grateful to Richard for his endless support. We share similar experiences, having both suffered in our marriages after meeting our spouses at the same community event, which hasn't been held for decades. Despite being away, I still care about my hometown. I worried it might become depopulated, but it seems the younger generation now uses dating apps, leading to more marriages. It's said that in my hometown, particularly because there are few opportunities to meet people nearby, many couples meet and get married through dating apps. Also, many remote workers are moving to rural areas for cheaper housing, bringing more young people to my hometown. Hearing about the revitalization of my hometown brings me joy. I'm considering moving back eventually to spend my later years in the countryside. Recently, I've started a relationship with Richard, contemplating remarriage.